GM, welcome to another Wormhole Ecosystem Call. How are you, Robinson?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Awesome. As a lot of you must know, last month we had the Wormhole anniversary. So instead of doing the typical format where it's just me and Robinson, we had a lot more contributors on and we talked about everything that's gone on in the Wormhole ecosystem. This call, as a result, will be a lot longer. We'll have a lot more slides. We'll cover the past 2 months of updates, and there are a lot of updates that we want to go through. Robinson, I do want to start off with like a thought for the day. Um, you know, we spend so much time in the Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and all these sort of newer blockchain ecosystems. This year, we've started spending a lot of time with the Ripple community or the Cardano community. And, you know, we're so used to interoperability being there. Me personally, when I've branched out and I've interacted with these communities, interoperability is the number one thing that they're focusing on. It's the number one thing that's on their roadmap in terms of how to scale the ecosystem. Is that something that you noticed when you interacted at Ripple Swell as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's kind of interesting how things have played out. You have like the Ethereum, the Solana, Sui's. To your point, you could maybe say the new-ish blockchain, some newer than others. But I think what Ethereum did really well was they set the stage for programmability, right? And so with the EVM, right? And so it's easy to connect and integrate with that blockchain and therefore support it with interoperability and token transfers and things like that. That being said, when you talk to these newer blockchains, they obviously want a lot of activity, and one way to get that is giving the option to users and traders to be able to trade these like larger cap assets. And then you ask yourself, what are these larger cap assets? And a lot of them are these kind of older, not old in a bad way, just early, I should say, blockchains like your Ripple XRPL, like your Cardano, et cetera. It kind of launched at a time where we didn't know that a lot of the programmability was going to be around EVM, or we didn't know it would be so important. And so there's definitely been a strong push for these kind of early or older blockchains to want to integrate with maybe these newer ones. And it's almost like win-win situations, right? Because they want kind of the users and activity of these newer blockchains, and the newer blockchains want the like Lindy effect of their assets that are associated. So think ADA, think XRP, et cetera. So it's been really interesting to see. And I think another example is Zach, right? It's Zcash. Yeah. And so, we're obviously working with a lot of these teams on making sure we can kind of connect this new and old chasm, if you will.
Yeah, I think, if you look at the meta on crypto Twitter right now, obviously privacy is the forefront of what everyone is talking about. If you look broadly beyond to some of the more earlier blockchains, interoperability is right up there. And I want to pop up this slide. We surpassed 70 billion in multi-chain volume this month. I feel really optimistic about this number being multitudes higher when we think about all these traditional assets, some of these older blockchains that are thinking about interoperability now. In terms of the volume that we have right now, like Wormhole covers about 98, the chains that we connect to cover about 98% of total volume in the crypto space. This number is uncapped. And we are going to have so many more institutions come in, so many more other blockchains come in, and it's just going to create a broader economy that's going to fulfill what we're all working towards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Out of the 70 billion, one partner that I do want to highlight a lot is the M0 team. We've had the team on before. We meet them at every conference. They've been doing a lot of staggering numbers. They've been working with a lot of different partners. How's your interactions been with the M0 team lately?
Great. The M0 is just such a close partner, and they're right at the center of this kind of stablecoin narrative, right? Of enabling anyone to issue a stablecoin with the M0 platform. They make it super easy. They make it so it's decentralized, and then you have multi-chain issuance right out the box with Wormhole. So it's really one of the closest things to like end game stablecoin creation I've seen. And maybe I even think to kind of take a step back, and when we look at that 70 billion number and just give a little bit of a justification of the uncapped nature, like you said, Rachit, is the role Wormhole's fulfilling, and I've said this before, but for those of you who are tuning in and kind of listening for the first time or getting familiar with Wormhole, the role we're playing in some ways is we're playing like the Swift of the kind of the traditional financial system, right? And so Swift, the numbers are, this is an estimate, but can be anywhere from like $5 trillion, $5 trillion a 24-hour period, right? We're at 70 billion. So when we think about everyone's goal in this industry, and now not just in this industry, like the Stripes, the Robinhoods, et cetera, it's to bring things on chain. And if we think that assets being on chain is a more efficient, democratized, composable, et cetera, system, and everything will come on that, then there's no reason why we shouldn't eventually hit that number, right? And so to me, like that's a lot of times your total addressable market can kind of be this pie in the sky number. While yes, it's big, there's a very logical steps. There's logical steps and assumptions to get there. And obviously stablecoins are a big part of that. We have a few big stablecoin partners we're announcing soon. And then M0 will continue to be one of our main and core ones. So this number in particular, 800 million, I expect that to just really hockey stick up into the right.
Yeah, it's as ZeroX since said in the past, they're the pump fund of stablecoins. I still think they should do a marketing campaign around that, and that would really blow up on crypto Twitter. In terms of Robinson, just moving this along, the 70 billion number, if we look at the front ends or the applications that power a lot of it, obviously Wormhole Portal, our dedicated front end, does 56 billion, but Mayan has been topping the charts as well. How's interactions been with the Mayan team?
Yeah, look, the Mayan team is top notch. I think one of the things that we do really well and is I think we have a good kind of side of the Wormhole protocol and business that's very permissionless. We want to support any builders. Anyone can build Wormhole. It's an open source, free network to use and to build on, right? However, we do see protocols come along and we work with specific protocols that start to do really, really well. And we want to put additional resources behind them. And Mayan has definitely been one of those teams. They have just been absolutely crushing it. This number is going up and to the right pretty quickly. And I think we'll start to see more and more of that share go to Mayan. Portal's not slowing down, as Rachit, we've talked about in the past. Like we have a ton of features. We launched same chain swaps. We got transfers. There's something big coming really soon. So Portal's going to be the everything app. But when it comes to transfer volume, we're going to see Mayan eat the Portal number more and more, I think.
Yeah. Like even just interacting with the Mayan team, they seem so cracked. They seem so aligned with the Wormhole ecosystem. I met the team recently in Singapore. It was just an awesome experience. And, if we're ever at a conference, do definitely try to meet the Mayan team in person. They're an awesome hang. Robinson, moving this along, you sort of front run my next couple of slides. Portal has definitely gone through a lot of major updates. The first one, Portal swaps. What's really interesting, Robinson? I think we delayed the announcement for Portal swaps a couple of weeks, and people in the background were testing it out and they were using it, and they just didn't realize it was chain swaps. So they naturally just went to portalbridge.com and they were doing swaps, but they didn't realize that they were doing same chain swaps. They automatically assumed that was a feature that was going on. Talk to us about Portal swaps. What has this enabled for portalbridge.com?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people testing it before it was even live. Our user base is very observant and they love to give their opinions, which we do love. It's helped us create Portal into the version it is today. But look, I think when it comes to Portal, it's a very trusted application, right? People trust it to move size in particular, right? When we first created portals, when we were still at Jump, and a lot of the reason was to move size, and that's a scary thing sometimes in crypto. And so a lot of people trust it to move a lot of assets, and we've kind of created this sticky user base just based on the trust over time. Even when the UX was shit, excuse my language, we still had a very loyal user base because we had the trust component. And so what does it look like if we take the trust that we have, which we respect a lot, and we then start adding in additional products for these users to use that already trust us to do things the right way. And so same chain swaps is the natural progression. I encourage everyone to go try it out. Go swap on Portal. We give you a lot of different options, right? Like Uniswap will give you you can do the same chain, but what if all in one UI you wanted to do a same chain swap, then you wanted to go between two different chains, you can do that all here. So it's just a natural progression, and we'll be making this product better and better, of course.
Yeah, one thing that I do want to add there is, I obviously get a lot of customer help notifications, and I'm always happy to help out. If you ping anyone on the Wormhole side, if you're having difficulties with Portal, we will always respond and we will always help you out. But the number of tickets that we get on Discord are astronomically higher, and the way that we're responding to those tickets is getting better and better every day. So if you are a user of Portal and you're facing any difficulties, definitely do contact anyone from the team. We are here to help you out in any way possible. In terms of help, we also launched Portal Earn finally. I've been going on a sort of AMA run, Robinson, recently. I did about 8 different country AMAs, just went through
doing the Lord's work, man.
Yeah, just talking about Portal Earn. I have my own talk track here. I want the people to hear it from you this time.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about Full Send, and then we'll talk about Mayan Flash as well.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, look, my vision for those, are asking or obviously invested in Wormhole in a number of different ways. When it comes to Portal, we have really good real estate to make a decentralized Binance. That's another lofty goal. We just talked about Swift. That's a big TAM. I think when we think about Portal, why not have what we're already doing effectively a spot trade with same chain swaps. Obviously there's a lot we can do on the back end to improve that. We already own the bridging rails and offer transfers to all these different chains. What does it look like to keep introducing products, but doing it in a decentralized way on Portal? And then layering on top of that, for all of the different things you come here and do, layering on top of that an earn program to make sure that our most loyal customers are also getting additional value. And so this is exciting. Obviously, we're trying to make this as much of a loyalty program, not your average points program, although obviously it's in kind of a points capacity. There's a number of different things we're going to be doing, and I would compare it a lot more to Binance Earn for those listening and that are familiar with Binance Earn. Working with other teams is a good example, which Rachit will get into here in a second. But giving exposure to all the different protocols that we tend to work with. Here's just an example in like a few short weeks: Uniswap, Mayan. I know of like 5 that are coming down the pipeline, 2 in the next like 2 weeks. So that are really exciting. And if you follow Wormhole and know what we've got going on in the next week, you probably can guess. So I think a lot about this is like another step in our journey towards that decentralized Binance for Portal.
Yeah. And just because I've done so many different AMAs and I've actively been participating in Portal Earn, I can sort of give, feedback in terms of what these boosted routes are. So if you transfer any stable coins using portalbridge.com on the earn section, you will get 1 XP per USD transferred. If you transfer any tokens, that amounts to 2 XP per USD transferred. Now, there's a thing called boosted chains. So boosted chains right now are Solana and Hyper EVM. If you transfer any tokens into these boosted chains, you will get 3 XP per USD transferred. Now, there's another kicker. As we have boosted chains, there are also boosted tokens. So the boosted token right now on Portal Earn is Solana or Sol token. So if you transfer Sol into any of the boosted chains, namely Solana and Hyper EVM, you get 4.5 XP per the USD that you're transferring. So these are the normal activities that you have on Portal Earn. Now, if we take that further, with our amazing BD team, similar to Binance Earn, we're also able to provide other custom earn activities as well. That's where we come to the Full Send campaign with the Unichain team. Robinson, tell us how this came to life.
Yeah, I mean, with Uniswap, I think for those that maybe listened to the last the kind of 5-year ecosystem call we did, you may know this or have heard this, but we've been working with the Uniswap team for a really long time, quite closely on a number of different fronts, right? On the governance, we're the exclusive provider that ensures governance messages and votes can travel between chains to ensure governance with Uniswap happens effectively everywhere, no matter where you're at on chain. They did a really big assessment back in the day on which interop protocol was the securest, and Wormhole came out on top there. And then we're doing some stuff with them around intents. And obviously today, we're connected to Unichain, working with them there. And then, today we are kind of the main exporter of these major assets. So Rachit and I started this call by talking about how a lot of chains, newer chains, want these kind of Lindy assets, or these bigger top 50 assets, if you will. And so Wormhole kind of acts as like the import export, or the kind of shipping containers or freights, whatever analogy, real world analogy you want to use in your head, to bring these things of high value to a place where, Uniswap believes they trade better, right? And so the example for our full send campaign is, obviously Hype, very popular asset. What does it look like to trade that on Uniswap? And Solana, Sol, very popular asset, both, I believe, top 50. And so what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, we're already providing value and giving you the ability to import, export these, but like, why not give you some additional XP on top? Because this is important to Unichain, it's important for you guys, and it's important for us, right? This is a high value initiative.
Awesome. And similar to the full send campaign, so just for viewer context, if you transfer Hype from Hyper EVM to Unichain, you get 10 XP per USD transferred. And then if you transfer Sol from any chain to Unichain, you get 10 XP as well. The other campaign that we're running on Portal Earn right now is called Mayan Flash. Robinson, a lot of the user doubts that I get are, what's the difference? What is a Mayan root? So could you explain what a Mayan root is? And then we can talk a little bit about this campaign as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mayan, the team does a really good job at what I would say, and I'm kind of like blanket statementing a lot of the hard work they do, but they do a really good job at really fast intent-based types of transfers. So enabling you to have one native asset on one chain and getting another native asset on another chain. For those of you who haven't been using DeFi for a while, this is somewhat new within the past like year and a half, at least being able to do this at size, at scale. And what I think is even crazier is the competition within the industry is really doing the best for the user. What do I mean by that? This fierce competition is making the actual transfer times and the costs. Maybe I'll focus on transfer times for a second. Go from like, originally transferring them from Ethereum was 15 minutes, right? You had to wait for finality. And then, intense protocols could maybe do it in like a minute or something, maybe less. And then we went to 20 seconds. Then we went to 6 seconds. Now with Mayan and some of the other competitors, we're talking like seconds to make these kind of complex transfers happen between chains. And so we call this the Flash program because it quite literally is, things happen in a flash now with Mayan. And I know they have a few big upgrades coming too, which is even more exciting. And so for here, we want to incentivize the best experience. That's what we're doing with Mayan Flash. Hey, you should take these routes because it's going to get what you want the fastest and the cheapest. And so, use them. And I think to answer the final question is like, we aggregate a lot of that on the Portal front end too. So Portal has NTT functionality, it has token bridge functionality, it has some other things, but we also aggregate a lot of Mayan stuff. So if you're using Mayan through Portal, and you likely are, because we try to surface the best routes and Mayan's the best routes, you're going to get some extra XP for that.
Yeah. So if you're using any Mayan routes right now on Portal Earn, and that is earn.portalbridge.com, you'll get 10 XP per USD. A lot of users, I listen to, and they send me their cards in DMs. A lot of people have been racking up a lot of XPs. It's always interesting to see. It's always interesting to see people's different strategies. A lot of users are just using it naturally, and they're very happy to get the extra incentives. A lot of different user groups there for sure, and a lot of different activity for Portal in general.
And a lot of more initiatives coming too, guys. Like I'm telling you, I know like 5, I know 2 coming probably within the next like 2 weeks. Big ones that everyone's going to be excited about. So we're not slowing down here. The pipeline's large.
Yes, sir. In terms of not slowing down, the Wormhole Reserve is now live and has acquired 1 million W tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Co-founder, give us the spiel.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, revenue is king this cycle, right? I think we've kind of decided that we're going to start valuing, crypto protocols based on the actual value they provide and what people are willing to pay for. And that's beneficial for Wormhole, right? Like we actually, for those of you who've been with us for a while, we didn't launch a token until like 3 years after we had already built a protocol very different from what most people do today, right? So we had been surviving obviously on money we raised, and then money we will charge because we provide value additive services. And so for us, we're really excited about this meta because we'll start to kind of surface to the top of the pack because we are providing value, we are charging, we are making revenue both off chain and on chain. And one of our main goals here is to make sure we're starting to move towards the direction of giving ourselves optionality to provide value in various ways back to W holders, right? So the Wormhole Reserve is a place where this W is going and either kind of going to be sitting off, eliminating part of the supply, or at some point, and we're starting to see this now with like Uniswap, et cetera, being able to share the reserve with token holders. And the idea here is we want to make Wormhole as self-sustaining as possible, right? We want it to be to make revenue for the products we're providing. That's easy. That's up and to the right. And then make sure we're sharing that back with those that have been with us and those that are invested with us along the way, and also are participating in the ecosystems, whether it's governance and staking, et cetera, and some other things we have coming out. So this is exciting. You'll see this a lot more. We already have a number of these allocations planned for the future from the revenue we've started to make. So this is only the beginning.
Yeah, and I think there's also a tracker where if you want to check the reserve at any time, you can go out and check the website. Cool. Moving along, as Robinson mentioned, Wormhole connects a lot of different ecosystems, and the two ecosystems that we've been really excited about for the past 2 months are Plume and Monad. I want to start off with Monad. Robinson, did you see the TBPN yesterday where Keone from the lock-in capital of the world?
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I've personally worked with the Monad team. I always have a great time interacting with them. You obviously also interact a lot with the Monad team as well. What do we have in store for Monad in the next couple of months?
Yeah, well, good Monad, Jamonad. I'm really excited for this. For those of you, again, who have been following us for a while, we've been working with Monad for years now. We are the native bridge. We will be providing majority of the assets to Monad. We just saw Portal earn, little alpha. There may be something there. We'll see. But I'm really excited because in crypto, I think a lot of people are a little bit tired and down on just the narratives, the roadmaps, the things like that. Monad took the time to build something. What is a step function improvement? They took the time to build an incredible community, not only of retail, but of builders. Like this is a value, not financial investment advice or anything like that, but like this is the type of team that is providing real value over time. And it's evident, right? And I even laugh because the lock-in capital of the world thing that you're talking about was obviously Keone on TBPN, and there's like a mattress on the floor behind him, white wall, nothing there. Thing is like, I could see some founders in crypto like planning that. There's no way Keone planned that. That's like, he's literally locked in like that. And like, that's almost like an example of the kind of the core difference I think we see with Monad, which just made me laugh even more knowing Keone. It's like, that's just like literally what he's doing right now. So look, I think I'm extremely excited for Monad. I've been talking about Monad a lot, and it's real. It's coming. Obviously, they've been public with the dates. And we're going to be the main way to get to it. So either portalbridge.com, monadbridge.com, these are going to be the main ways to get to Monad. And so a lot more is coming here in literally the next couple hours / days. So I don't want to give too much away. Just stay tuned on both Monad's Twitter and ours. But I'm really personally excited and just excited for the industry to have a very legitimate, protocol launching.
Yeah, I think in terms of Monad, you obviously see the community. The Monad community loves the Wormhole community as well.
They do.
We interact a lot. I see a lot of the Vietnads, Indonads, Indian ads whenever we travel. We spend a lot of time with them. So this is also one that I'm really, really excited about. The other ecosystem, Robinson, I want to talk about is Plume. Obviously, we spend a lot of time with Teddy and Chris on the ground whenever we go to events. They do a lot of different TradFi stuff. Teddy and Chris also met President Trump a couple of months ago, which was super interesting. How have your interactions been with the Plume team?
Yeah, I mean, look, Wormhole is in a place where we've really cornered the market when it comes to RWAs. Like our security model, our distribution really lend itself well to making it an easy decision for any of these large institutions like your BlackRock, like your Apollo, your Hamilton Lane to say, yeah, it makes sense to use you guys when we're settling assets between blockchains. And so when you think about Plume and their goal around RWAs, it's just a natural progression for us to work closely with them. I know our core partner M0, I think, is working with them. So nothing but respect for the team. Obviously, Teddy's a friend. We've been working closely with each other. So yeah, excited to watch them continue to grow. I do think tokenization, et cetera, is a hot space, which means it's super competitive. So it'll be interesting to see how all these things play out. But obviously, we're going to support them how we can.
Yeah, I think one thing to really stress here is, Wormhole spends a lot of time choosing the partners and choosing the ecosystems that we expand to. The amount of tech work that is required to connect to one of these chains with the Guardian network that we have set up is substantial. When you factor in the fact that Wormhole tech connects 98% of the activity in all of crypto, choosing partners is something that we do really well. And these are two partners that we feel really, really strongly about.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Major highlights. Robinson, just to sort of front run it, there are a lot of institutional announcements in this one. So I know you get really, really excited. So I just want to.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for prepping me because I do.
Let's start it up. All right. ACRED to say. Sorry.
You did the age-old mix-up of Sui and Say, Rach. I don't know. Someone from one of those ecosystems is going to come at you.
I'm so sorry. ACRED to say. Robinson, how's it been working on this particular expansion? What are things that we're looking here, and what's really exciting here?
Yeah, I mean, look, most of you know ACRED by now from tuning in, but if you haven't, ACRED is a private credit fund, put together by or managed by, Apollo. I think they're one of the largest fund managers specific to that for private credit. Hamilton Lane is big, KKR too. They're very large. And essentially, we expanded this asset to say so that you can use it as collateral, for instance, if you want to take a position on DeFi, right? So I think this is just another notch in the belt, another good notch for Wormhole Rails, more volume. And you know what? For some extra information, I personally just tried out and got involved with ACRED and went through the process with Securitize, invested, just to get a sense. And I encourage, honestly, as a side note, everyone to do this, like with what you can do. And if you can on mainnets, use test nets, try these products out. RWAs and DeFi and that kind of transition period is still a little, I say this with love, like we've come a long way, but it needs a little bit of work and we're a core part of that. But you don't learn these things until you go through them and try them. And so, for instance, my ACRED, I think right now I hold it on Polygon. I'm going to probably transfer over to Say and just get a sense of what I can do with it. Just so I'm not just talking about things, like I've actually done them or I know how they work. And I encourage people to do that, not just with RWAs, but other stuff in DeFi as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people who work full time in the industry focus a lot of time on. I think crypto is the only industry where someone will just put in $50 to an application to actually try it out and then give genuine feedback. So if you're someone out in the industry, trying to break into this industry, this is probably the fastest way. Just going around. Like if you texted Robinson some thoughts on how your experience was going multi-chain with ACRED, that's a very legitimate way to build a relationship.
Absolutely.
In terms of ACRED expanding to Say, we talk a lot about these institutions. We talk a lot about the impact of this. VBILL recently hit 100 million milestone. So that was super big. How's the team sentiment there, Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, this one's great. And for those also, like all these little tickers and stuff can be kind of confusing, until obviously you get familiar with the assets, similar to like, crypto network tokens. VBILL is VanEck's money market fund. I think that thesis, right, is the more ecosystems, more blockchains you make an asset available to, the more that asset can grow. And you can draw analogies from modern economics, right? Like the more you can export your product, the more it can grow. Your TAM increases, your users, et cetera. the dollars buying in, et cetera. So for us, like we act as that growth partner, not only for RWAs, but for network tokens like Sol, Hype, like we talked about earlier. We are a growth arm for them. And so for VBILL in particular, we're able to help VBILL go to new chains so it can be used in DeFi, get into new wallets, et cetera. So I love to see a $100 million milestone. I think it's an important one for all assets. And it's kind of Lindy, they've kind of gotten to that point where, it'll be, of course, you'll see drawdowns, but like that's that kind of milestone to where they'll likely see some additional growth, and we'll be there to help them out with it.
Yeah, I think these milestones are really important for the TradFi side as well, to see some sort of traction going on in the crypto world, to have them be more excited about this side of the world as well. In terms of being excited, BUIDL expanded to BNB as well. Obviously, BUIDL, one of our earlier partners. When I talk to a lot of institutions in Japan, Hong Kong, India, they always reference BlackRock as the leader in terms of them feeling comfortable coming into and exploring this space. Talk to us about this one, Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, look, same similar story to VBILL, but I'll touch on a few things here. Like BUIDL really is kind of, it is getting almost like the verb, if you will, for RWAs, or becoming the verb, and how you would think, let's Google something, let's DoorDash something, which I think is a huge win for BlackRock. But it's one of the best RWAs, and again, it's a simple money market fund, but it's just really solid collateral. It's a really solid asset you can use on chain. And look, BNB chain is big, right? To me, this is big plus big, right? That those two, that there's a lot of BNB users. And there's a lot of holders of BUIDL. I would argue it's the leading RWA. Maybe sometimes it fluctuates in terms of TVA or issuance, but like just in mind share and issuance and et cetera. And so this is just a big win for us, a big win for BNB and BUIDL. So this is one I was really excited about. I know we recently announced it, but definitely I wouldn't undersell this one at all. Yeah, I mean, excited to keep expanding BUIDL. There's a few new ecosystems launching, right? Like Monad, et cetera, that would be great candidates. But I think BNB was a long time coming, and was also requested by a lot of investors as well.
Yeah, a lot of our community members in APAC were really excited with this announcement as well. So this was great signal in those communities when we had announced this. The other one, Robinson, that we announced was the S&P 500 index fund token. I know this is one that you've been tweeting about a lot, and I know you do have a lot of thoughts, so I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, I love your, like, there's gonna be a lot of institutional stuff. Rachit knows me well. I get fired up about this, but mainly because like I was around when institutions were supposed to be in crypto, and then we got horribly rugged. I would argue a lot of it was from FTX and setting back the industry quite a bit. But now it's just like so abundantly here, and to be such a core part of it is great, and a testament to all the individuals that work on Wormhole's hard work, honestly. But look, this speaks for itself, right? This is like the only kind of official S&P 500 fund. We work closely with Centrifuge and Anemoy and Janice Henderson. They put this together. They obviously worked with the team, the S&P team, and this is essentially like holding the S&P 500 on chain, right? If you think the S&P 500 is going to continue to go up, and I think the model is pretty interesting, right? It's an index of the top 500. So if something's not performing well, it falls out and gets replaced by something performing better. So if you like the S&P 500, a lot of fund managers index against it. I think the last time I looked it up, I think it's like 13 trillion are indexed against it. You can use it as collateral. Make gains on your S&P 500 holdings, your index rise, and take out a stablecoin loan, right? Like that's super interesting. And now it's possible on chain with SPXA, and this one's just like such a notch on the belt for Wormhole in terms of legitimacy. This is I think sometimes we undersell ourselves on some of these wins. We work so hard, and we should market them more. This is one of those. So I'm just like, how can everyone know about this?
Yeah. Like if you think about relevance, like we obviously covered a lot of the money market funds. This is probably the most widely adopted index fund in the world. And if you bring it on chain and you bring it multi-chain, it just reaches a lot bigger audience. And one thing, Robinson, that I've started to realize in all of these conversations is that the way that we talk about looping and we talk about perps and the way that we talk about finance in the crypto world is really different from how retail audiences treat it, because there is no looping.
Yeah.
in the traditional world. So as they get more into a lot of what this enables, they will find a lot of value from this as well. And the value that Wormhole brings is you can do it on any ecosystem. You're not singled out on one particular ecosystem in general.
Absolutely.
Talking about the ecosystem, we did a pretty big partnership with the Aerodrome team this month. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, like the Aerodrome team is a great team. We've been working with them for a little while, both on Aerodrome on base and Velodrome on Arbitrum, and they're kind of like the flagship, I would say, decks on base, as most people listening probably know. And if there's one, Rachit, if there's one theme of this ecosystem call, I think it's where we're seeing a lot of this like import export behavior. This is another just classic example of Aerodrome on a new chain, which is base, again, new relative to the industry, wanting, Wormhole, the most trusted interop protocol, to essentially import these major assets so they can be traded there. They want the volume. They have the users, they have the mind share, but they want the volume from these assets. They want the activity. And so we've been working closely with Aerodrome on bringing a number of assets over, obviously Hype and Sol being some of them, but we're working on others as well. So just really, it's kind of crazy. Is like the market can kind of go crazy, and I think a lot of like builders I respect in crypto will say this as well, because it's just true. Is there's no better time to build and like see incremental progress. And I'm actually sitting here on this call just being like, this is crazy, all the stuff we've done in the past month, but we're quite literally laying these strong rails between all these chains, and it's starting, the space is really starting to consolidate on the players between chains. And so it's just really cool to see this, obviously with base and Aerodrome being so big and the amount of like major assets we're bringing over. And guess what? That is sticky. That liquidity we bring over is sticky. It doesn't leave. We've been trying to move a liquidity over to NTT on some routes, and people just still like using the token bridge. I think there's like 300 mil in WBTC on Solana right now. It's just it's sticky. Liquidity is sticky, and we're maybe one of the biggest in the space in terms of bringing it to importing and exporting to different chains.
Yes, sir. And in terms of bridging it in and out of chains into different ecosystems, obviously Hyperliquid, one of the bigger success stories of this cycle. We've been seeing a lot of different use cases, as we mentioned in the Aerodrome case as well. Hype has become an asset that's generally requested in a lot of different ecosystem, and Wormhole brings them to Solana and base in these situations. Where also, as we mentioned earlier in the call, if you go on to portal earn activities, there are a lot of incentivization structures for Hype as well. If you transfer Hype from Hyper EVM to Unichain, you will get 10 XP per USD transferred as well. Robinson, can you explain why certain like bigger assets are requested on different ecosystems? Like, what's the thought process there? Like, wouldn't Hyperliquid want to consolidate all Hype on Hyperliquid? Like, why would any ecosystem want their token to be on different ecosystems?
Well, I don't think it's sometimes as much as the ecosystem wanting their token to be on other ecosystems, but the other ecosystem wanting that token. So in this example, Solana saying, hey, we're internet capital markets, we're the best place to trade anything, is what they would say. We need all the major assets to be traded on Solana. Base saying, hey, we believe we're, one of the fastest high throughput chains, like Aerodrome is a great place to trade. Very similar thesis. We want the best assets, and the best assets in the space, there's no like nuanced answer here. It's like the top 50. They got the most holders, the most liquidity. And so all of these, I'd say it's the opposing ecosystem that typically wants it. And then, they'll work with us or work with the actual asset issuer themselves. In this case, Hyperliquid, to issue, over on another chain. But it's largely driven by the other ecosystem wanting that token. For instance, Solana on Avalanche, Sol's trades on Avalanche, but Solana's maybe not as like interested in like exporting Solana to Avalanche.
That makes sense. And I think it's a result of users asking the Avalanche ecosystem to do the same. Robinson, I know we have 5 more minutes left. There's so many announcements. finally got the Folks NTT announcement out as well. Folks Finance, obviously a team that we've been working for many years now. One of the OG teams. Talk to us about this integration.
Yeah, I think what I maybe one thing I'll call out. I know we don't have too much time, so thanks, Rachit, for keeping us moving along. There is a crazy amount of stuff we've done. I love these calls too because I kind of reflect and I'm like, oh, holy shit. So I think one of the things that Wormhole does really well is it's one thing to connect EVM chains. Wormhole is the leader in the industry of connecting exotic virtual machines or alternative virtual machines. Most people will call them alt VMs. And so Algorand, Folks is native to Algorand, is an example of that. And so this is I think their flagship protocol on Algorand, their DeFi protocol. I think it does a number of different things. It's like a money market and other stuff. And they obviously are just launching their token. And guess what? They just had their TGE or they're having it, and they want it to be multi-chain day one. And we're seeing more and more tokens want to do that day one. Stable coins, network tokens like Folks. And so this was obviously a win for Wormhole, another notch in the belt in the sense like top protocol on Algorand. And now they're exporting their token to these other chains. So we'll see how it does on these other chains, but they want max distribution. They want max investors, holders, etc.
And that is what we are here for.
Absolutely.
Cool. Moving along. Okay.
Wormhole connects.
This probably is where, you see a lot of me and you and Dan. This is probably a more reflective side on our conference activations and everything that we do. One thing that I do want to highlight firstly is a lot of our fellows got together in about 14 different cities or 16 different cities where we hosted dedicated Portal Earn launch parties. This is where a fellow took initiative. They worked with our team. They hosted an event for 30, 40 people. They explained to them what Portal Earn is, and they made an impact in the community and shared something new. This is something that we're going to do a lot more of in the future. If you are part of the fellowship, stay tuned. We have a lot more, as Robinson said, as we have more launches, we will do more launch parties. We will connect the community in different ways as well. But this has been a very, heartwarming experience as someone, who's overlooked this campaign. The fact that there are people in Brazil using Portal Earn, there are people in Vietnam using Portal Earn, there are people in Indonesia using Portal Earn. It's just wholesome to sort of see all the photos, see how fellows are interacting and them having a great time. In terms of, the institutional side, Dan was at the Digital Asset Conference in Brazil, where we had an amazing conversation with institutional partners in Brazil, not just Brazil, in LATAM in general. And that's somewhere that we're making a lot of progress, with one of our more notable partners, Mercado Bitcoin, leading the charge in the region. Robinson, sorry, I made you wait so that we can get to the slide. But yeah, you're in New York for Ripple Swell. By the way, love the Chelsea boots. Love the new haircut, by the way. Talk to us about what was going on in this panel.
Well, first of all, I just Ripple blue socks. It's for my XRP army out there that are listening. When other Wormholes really started to cross over with the XRP army too, it's been interesting to see that. But wearing my XRP or my Ripple blue. But look, I know we have too much time. I could talk about Ripple for a while. The team's been focusing on a lot. And again, Rachit, if there's anything, we're staying on theme, right? This is another ecosystem an older one that has these highly valuable assets that other newer ones want. And we're acting as that partner for a lot of different things. Some things I can't talk about quite yet, but soon, which are super exciting. And then other things like connecting to XRPL, the side chain, working with XRP, the asset. So we're just doing a whole ton with this team. And we've been working with them for a while. So they put on an event in New York, super well done event, tons of institutional partners. I left that event. I was just like, it's so hard to be bearish right now. I understand like there's certain, negative narratives in the markets, et cetera, but just the fundamentals and the adoption, et cetera, it's just crazy. And that was one of those events where the people I was meeting that are now building in this space, just wild.
Yeah. One thing that I do want to say, you will be seeing a lot of Wormhole representation at a lot of Ripple events. So if you are at a Ripple event, definitely try to meet our team, IRL. Speaking about meeting the team, the team is in BA at the moment, a lot of different team members are in BA. So if you are at DevConnect, definitely try to connect with our team on the ground. I put this slide in because I was I was in,
he broke out the suit.
I was in Korea. We had a panel at the Korean National Assembly, and a lot of policymakers from Korea were there. This was an interesting experience for me personally, and an amazing experience for the industry overall. We were also in Singapore the following week, where again I wore the same suit and gave a keynote at Solana Apex Singapore. Pal, our DevRel, was also there doing a lot of different activations, speaking to a lot of builders. And then to top the conference cycle, for me personally, I was in Mumbai, where I was giving a talk on institutions in crypto, where a lot of fintechs and institutional partners within the Indian ecosystem were present. And that's it. That's the Wormhole Ecosystem Call. As always, if you have any feedback, any thoughts, if you'd like to integrate, if you'd like to partner up, you can always message me or Robinson or anyone on our team. Thank you for listening, and thanks, Robinson, for the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Good seeing you all.